So, Dante, we're about to do the first episode of the podcast, yeah?
Really? I have to be sober for this?
Yeah, I mean, this is our one big shot here. This is it. This is the big time. If we get this right, we won't have to live this meaningful existence anymore. We can be big.
There's a lot riding on this, but we could be bigger than IGN, couldn't we?
I mean, I think bigger. Think bigger.
Bigger than IGN? We could be as big as Angry Joe.
I mean, yes, bigger than Angry Joe. I mean, bigger than Angry Joe. There's two of us. There's two of them. It's fine.
He's got like a whole bunch of guys and like all those kind of crazy outfits and stuff. Could we be as big as Young Ye?
Bigger than Young Ye. Just go beyond that. We're bigger than anyone.
Bigger than Jim Sterling?
But well, no, not really. Probably not much bigger than Jim Sterling. He's quite large, isn't he?
But he is a wrestler.
That's true, actually. Yeah, fuck it. We can be bigger than Jim Sterling as well. We'll be bigger than that case. All we need to do is not fuck up this. Particularly, this conversation can never go out.
Do we need to eat a lot of food to be bigger than Jim Sterling?
I've got some Doritos. All right, let's do it. Okay, let's get in the podcast. So let's welcome to the Jambags podcast, the first Jambags
inaugural
podcast.
Jambags podcast.
Exactly, with my host here, Dante Rodriguez.
And my co-host, Rudy Manchego.
Thank you very much. So we thought we'd start the very first episode of our new podcast by talking a little bit about what Jambags is and why you should be listening to it. I think the first thing we're going to say is really how we know each other, who we are. So I've known Dante here for going on 25 years.
Quarter of a century now, isn't it?
Quarter of a bloody hell.
Jeez.
It's a long time, that.
Yeah. We're old, dude.
We've been school friends.
We were school friends.
We were co-workers for a brief period. Not very good co-workers, but we worked in a shop, ish. Husband swap partners. That did not go well.
No, my husband was not happy with you.
No, he was furious. And one thing that's unified us through this entire time is a love of gaming and general geek culture. Probably out of our group of friends, the biggest geeks, the biggest losers at the time, because there was no such thing as geek chic.
I don't think it's at the time. I think it continues to be losers now.
Yeah, we still be losers. But we got back together in terms of, hanging out, because we realised that we were playing a lot of the same games. We were getting a lot into gaming, and we thought, you know what? Let's put something together and do our own thing. Everyone else on the internet seems to be doing it. Let's join an already flooded market and add very little to the mix.
Because I don't think anybody else is doing two guys stood next to each other talking about games right now, are they?
Yeah, particularly two white guys of middle-class backgrounds in the UK. No one's doing that. There's just not an abundance of that kind of thing. So
You're not going to make me black up, are you?
No, we're not going to do that. I don't think it's an order. We'd have to do the voice, and it'd be really bad. No, so we're not. So I suppose let's talk a little bit about what we can expect from Jambags. I think the main thing is that satire and silliness, that's what we're here to do. Talk about gaming and our love of gaming, but it's a lot of work to do real research on news stories, topics.
Kind of a ball ache.
We have full-time jobs. We have an increasingly large number of children, most of which we know about. There's a few probably out there we don't.
And occasionally we might like to play some games instead of researching stuff.
Exactly. So we thought it's a lot easier to just, sign of the times, fake news.
Yeah.
So let's do fake news.
Let's make shit up.
Let's do stuff. So if you're going to, if you skip past this bit and think we're, making stuff up, we are. It's a joke. And it's supposed to be a joke.
We are not about putting jam into bags. We are not like home jam making services or anything like that. That is not what we're about.
No, we don't really eat that much jam either, to be honest. More marmalade people if we're really into it. For non-British people, that means nothing to you. What does that mean? It means bad impressions, bad accents,
the worst,
and probably quite a lot of swear words.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, we have children, so we don't get a chance to swear very much. This is an opportunity to swear our proverbial tits off.
And do it loudly too.
Yeah, really. It's going to be pretty blue in places. It won't be that bad. Yeah. I mean, it'll be a little bit bad in places.
Yeah, it'll be like the average episode of The Thick of It, right?
Yeah, that's quite a lot of swearing. That's quite creative swearing. That's a lot more work than I'm willing to put into my swearing.
Yeah.
We're hoping to get a podcast out at least definitely every month, but hopefully maybe twice a month if we can manage it. And hopefully people start listening to it. This is also, we should say, our first podcast, our first setup. We are amateurs, as you can clearly tell. So, it's going to get better, hopefully, sound quality, editing, music, the banter, the bants will get better. Yeah. And if it doesn't, then it will die a slow, painful death, I imagine. But bear with us. And we're actually together for the first time because we actually live at other ends of the country. So in future, these will be probably recordings over that interweb thing that I've heard you can do at different times, which is one of the reasons this is a podcast and not a vlog, other than the fact that my face would probably put most viewers off.
We'll check out the cartoon versions of ourselves because we don't want to put ourselves on the screen.
Exactly, we don't. So, we're a little bit, that's why, we're going on it. So, other things you can expect from us, we've got a website set up, which is jambags.co.uk. You can go on there. There'll be blog posts from us, random musings, some things will be serious, our thoughts on games, probably a little bit more serious than the podcasts, our view on things we're playing at the moment, that kind of thing. We've got a Twitter handle as well, which we'll give out at the end of the show. We've also got a Facebook page, which you can go on there, and you obviously listen to the podcast, so you found out where it is.
Yeah. For anyone that's curious about the word Jambags, where it comes from, put it in Google and see if there's a Lord of the Rings reference that might come up. I'm not going to give any more away than that.
I would also say don't do it at work, because you might get some other results. Yeah. And although we wish we could say that was us, it really isn't, because we don't look like, we can't do those kind of things. I've tried once, it really hurt. Ow. So let's get into the first segment, I think, and see how it goes. So thanks everyone for joining us for the first time, and we hope you like the show. So welcome to Straight from the Jambags, news and views from around the interweb and around the world to do with gaming. News stories that may or may not be entirely accurate, but from our detailed sources that we have, we've decided to put them out there to you, to listen in public. So Dante, I want to talk about a few stories. You've got a few to raise as well. The first one I want to go through, headline news, which is typical EA, up to it again. They've gone out, bought a new studio, renamed it, given it a Star Wars license, and then closed it on the same day.
Those bastards.
I know, right? So you might have heard of Snakebite and Black Games. They make, they're famed for making the moderately popular bowling alley sim series Pinheads.
I love that game.
I know, they're great. I mean, I've got all 7.
Yeah.
I mean, they get better on everyone. You've got the mobile version. You got the mobile version?
I did. I spent so much in the microtransactions.
I know. I mean, it's just...
But it's so worth it, though.
I missed the birth of my first child because I was busy playing Pinheads. So, solid studio. Obviously, EA went out there, got a little bit of success, snapped them right up, renamed them to Venomous Death Snake, give them a slightly more edgy title, I guess. Bought them, went in the office, said they got a Star Wars game, got to make a massive Star Wars multiplayer game, which is not really their forte, I would suggest. From the Pinheads game, very static, basic gameplay.
I would have seen more of a Kinect-style bowling Star Wars game in this one, but hey.
And then they had to pitch it, their response to the multiplayer game, and based upon that pitch, they were told that the expected revenue was less than FIFA 2021, and therefore closed the entire studio, made everyone redundant within 24 hours. What do you think about this? I mean, this is another strike against EA's name, isn't it?
I think they're on very thin ice with this one, to be honest. I mean, it's a very popular studio. I can't think of anybody who doesn't love the Pinheads games.
Absolutely. It seems weird that they've taken what they do, which is making a successful series of bowling games, and giving them a Star Wars game that isn't revolving around bowling. I mean...
Even some of their less popular games like Rocket Flaps, I thought was pretty good.
Well, I mean, Rocket Flaps was one of those games that it didn't do well at launch, but gained a bit of a cult following and a good name, and then most people have now played it. Someone's taken a punt on Steam or PSN or Xbox and downloaded it, haven't they? Really?
I think I was the first guy to buy it. I mean, I'll buy anything with Flaps in the title.
Exactly. And I think you recognised me. We played a bit of co-op, didn't we? The co-op was really good, so you take a flap each. It was a great little title, and it just seems weird that we didn't get, at the very least, perhaps a Star Wars Flaps game.
I think that could have fit in quite well. I mean, better than the bowling one, anyway.
Absolutely. I just don't understand why EA are consistently doing this kind of thing. It's like they want to be, made fun of. It's just a weird scenario to me. I don't get it.
as mystified as you are, Rudy, I've no idea why they keep getting away with it, to be honest.
I mean, could you imagine a Rocket Flaps game with the Millennium Falcon in it?
Oh, now you mention it that way, I think it could be a very good game. I think that had a lot of potential.
I mean, I just think it sells itself. But they obviously, I mean, maybe they didn't pitch that. Maybe they pitched a bowling game. I don't know, but as a massive Star Wars multiplayer, but I don't know how they're going to squeeze microtransactions out of a Star Wars themed bowling game to the level that you need to compete with FIFA 2021. As you know,
you don't
that's
have to
many
buy
years
bowling
away.
balls every time you time you get a strike or something
That's
like
true.
that.
So yeah, that's our first news story. EA does it again, basically. Buys and sells a studio and destroys a studio within 24 hours because it won't make as much as a game that's not been out for 3 years, not been out for 3 or 4 years.
I think it's important to remember that EA is actually not a collection of people. It's just one corporate hive mind that likes to kind of assimilate and destroy things. It's kind of like the Borg in a way.
Yeah, it is very much. And, you know, the show that talks people you see, the spokespeople that you might see at E3 or in the publicised events, that's not really them. No. That is literally the mouth of Sauron, pretty much, riding out and talking to them.
Yeah, you see the glazed look in their eyes, you know they're a robot.
Yeah, I mean, I think one year someone spilled some water on one of them that went haywire and announced a load of games that didn't even exist. You know, so, yep, do it again. So, Dante, hand me over to the next story, which is, again, I'm afraid to say, an EA-related story.
It is. There is... in a shock move, having just kind of blasted EA for the last segment, they said they might be trying to mend their ways. It's been, may still be one of the most downvoted comments on Reddit, but EA basically come out with a public statement that says, sorry guys, we fucked up here, have some money back.
And it's interesting that they actually use the term, we fucked up. On this one. That was the title of the statement on Reddit, I think, from EA and DICE combined.
It was EA and DICE because it largely revolves around Battlefront users, and I think they're just kind of desperate for some good press at the moment here. I think they've had a long run of very bad press, including the studio shutdowns that we've just mentioned, and they're trying to come up with a quick win. And I think the corporate hive mind has just said, what's the easiest way we can make people stop hating us is to give them some money.
I mean, yeah, that's an interesting one. Because I read that if they can't find the original customers, the star cards that are accrued in the Battlefront 2 game, I believe, will be given to digitally back to starving children in third world countries. Which sounds great, but then we look at the small print, many of those don't actually have gaming systems. So it's a bit of an empty gesture there, I think. And that kind of maybe highlights, that this is a PR stunt.
Yeah, I've got some behind-the-scenes sources in EA who said that the execs were very surprised that the kids in the third world countries were being so ungrateful when being offered such valuable merchandise.
And that's really not an understanding of world politics, really, from EA. And that's a real shame because, this is good for consumers. If you're one of those people who, for some God knows reason, spent a lot of money on loot boxes in the short period they were actually there, which was what? Were they even there at all?
They took them out before launch, and then they kind of slowly brought them back, and then I think they took them out again. But if you're a whale, you are going to be having some money coming back to you, I think. Yeah,
and if you're merely a dolphin or possibly some kind of starfish, it's probably not going to mean much to you. Seahorses get a little bit more back, I suppose.
Yeah,
but. Okay, so EA's headlined most of our news section.
I think we should probably move away from EA.
Okay. Well, this one I'm going to move over to Sonic, which is a growing concern. And this is a news report that came from Ohio in the US. Hotbed of gaming activity, it seems. A story that a teenager in Ohio exchanged his own skin for Counter-Strike skin. So let me just explain a little bit there, which is that Counter-Strike skins and loot and things like that can actually be sold or gambled away in websites semi-legally. It's a grey area, I think you could argue. And you can trade them in, and some of them are worth quite a lot of money. And it's a way that keeps people invested in Counter-Strike and games like it. It seems that Valve turn a blind eye to that.
It's kind of a dodgy trade, to be honest, but most people make the argument that since it's only cosmetic, it's not that bad.
Exactly, but I know a lot of YouTubers go into trouble for promoting their own sites which allow this, or investments they've got in sites that allow exchanging of money and that. And they can go for $1,000. But in this case, in an attempt to try and get some of the best skins for his playable characters, he actually exchanged his own skin. So I believe, I haven't got the details here, but he actually took off most of his own arse, I think on the left cheek, and tried to sell, and basically took a photograph of the skin, stretched it out, said you could have my skin, do whatever you want with it, for a skin. I guess it was probably as a PR stunt to try and get attention that someone will buy his skin. But at the end of the day, he's now got half an arse, really, that isn't dripping with blood and goo. Do you think this is kind of a worrying trend for the future, Dante?
I've been hearing similar stories for the past month of this kind of escalating behaviour towards skins for various different games, not just Counter-Strike. It was one of those kind of sadly prophetic things that.
It was inevitable, wasn't it? If you're selling skins, someone's going to sell some of their own skin. It's only a matter of time before a Counter-Strike skin is possibly the cost of a foreskin.
That's definitely going to happen. I think people are going to start kind of smashing their own houses down to trade for Minecraft pieces.
Well, I mean, that's the way it's going to go, isn't it? I know, for example, we live in the UK, so we tend to live in brick houses here. But in other countries where timber is the main frame, people are already tearing down some of their houses. For Fortnite, which is obviously the top game in the world at the moment, they are knocking down their own houses and then using that to buy more materials in their games so that they can then put up better structures in the game and have a better chance of coming first in a battle royale game.
Do you think we should try and stay relevant to modern gaming by playing this most popular game at the moment? Because I've not played it.
No, I've not played it because I've noticed when I play new games that I've been playing, I'm very late to every party, and it means that I generally get my head kicked in by 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. It really hurts my feelings. Yeah, they call me some really rude names. I
mean, we swear a lot, but the amount of abuse that comes through the headset when we try something like that, it's.
I've never been called an arse peddling spunk monkey in any other game. When I started playing COD, and that's what happened. And I got called that within the first second. Yeah. And that was by you, actually. We were in the game together. We were playing co-op.
You shot at me. I mean, I didn't know that you can't take team damage in that game, but I was still pissed.
Yeah, and it hurt. I mean, we were there with friends. It was an emotional time.
My mum didn't like hearing the language, but I feel it was justified.
Yeah, I don't think we should have got her in that first game. No. She wasn't really into it. She didn't really like it too much. She's more of a Wolfenstein fan. Likes playing single player campaigns. Doesn't like multiplayer.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a big Blazkowicz fan.
She certainly is. No, Terrorbilly. Ooh.
Yeah, but enough about that. Yeah, so we haven't really played Fortnite. Something we should do. Something we should do anyway. Let us know if you play Fortnite and if you have knocked down your own house, and if you've been tempted as well to cut off parts of your own body to sell online. Because if you do, the Jambags' opinion is you're a bit of a fucking idiot, really. But it is your skin and it's your choice. Just make sure you put a mat down first. Yeah,
and we'd like to talk to you about it. Just let us know.
Absolutely, we definitely would be up for an interview as well for someone that has done that.
I think we may have someone on the interview panel later to talk to about similar kind of things.
Okay, well, I look forward to that. Thank you very much. And finally, our final news story for today, and this one is an interesting one. I wouldn't have expected it. Can you give me a bit more light on it?
Okay, in a very timely gesture, kind of getting right at the event itself, Bandai Namco and Atari have pledged to take all of the microtransactions and marketplace out of Pac-Man and Pong. We feel this is a fantastic result for gamers who have campaigned against microtransactions, and I think this is a really great next step in the war against it, as people like Jim Sterling have said.
And they're very obtrusive, but obviously they've reissued these games as classic games, charged money for them. I mean, these are games from the 70s and 80s. I think Pong's one of the first games ever. Classic gameplay loop. But to get lives in Pac-Man, you have to pay for them. You have to pay for them via a microtransaction.
Yes.
To get a paddle in Pong, which is what you use to play the game, you have to pay on top to get a paddle. And to get the ball, I think you have to pay additionally for it.
Yeah, I think Konami might have had a role in that in their time, since they seem to kind of use that practice in things like Metal Gear Survive these days.
Exactly, and it's kind of a trend there. I mean, even to start the game, you have to pay an extra bit of money on Pong, I think, which for a nearly 40-year-old game.
I think the theory was that if you had to go down to the arcade game and put money in to start that game, then you could do it at home as well.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, in fact, didn't they bring out a company piece of hardware kit, which was in fact a coin slot and a credit card slot. And you literally, you got to put coins in it, which then fell into an envelope that you post to them, or you could put your card in and just do like wireless contact pay as well. So it was in fact turning your console or PC, I think it was on PC as well, into essentially an arcade machine from the payment aspect, but not so much the gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, on top of the actual buying of the game itself, just to have it in your living room, it makes no difference. Like same with an arcade machine. The arcade guys have to buy it, and then you start filling it up with money. And
you also get, I think you got occasionally you could pay extra to get a creepy kid who just sat there and watched you, made you feel uncomfortable while you were playing as well. Sit there, kind of wants to play it, but is going to possibly pick up the other controller and have it go on the second player when you don't really want them to.
It was all about the arcade experience back then. You wanted to make it authentic at home.
It really was, So, I mean, I think it's great. You're absolutely right. It's great news for gaming. It's a victory for people like us who campaign tirelessly by commenting on YouTube videos that we don't like it.
Absolutely. I mean, a cynic might say that that they've made all the money out of us that they're going to make out of us over the 30 or 40 years that Pong has existed. But I say nay. No, that is not the case. It is absolutely a complete victory with no downsides.
Absolutely. So let's end on a high note then. Victory for us as gamers. Everyone else, Ubisoft, we're coming for you.
They're next.
Take-Two, we're coming for you. All the games, we're coming for you, basically. Wait to see the comment sections come alive on any video that this is those games, yeah. We are not going to lay back.
It is a fine time to be alive and a gamer.
Okay, and welcome everyone to a new segment called The Jammers, an opportunity for us to talk to real gamers, a tribute to you, the gamer. We want to know what makes you tick. We're talking to real gamers across the country, indeed the world, to find out what makes them tick, what makes games special to them, and just why they game. So join us and meet The Jammers.
What, geez?
Today, we're talking to Cody Prestige, a self-confessed casual gamer from Chelmsford.
Good to meet you, bruv.
Cody, tell me, please, what are you playing right now?
Right now? I'm sat here talking to you, mate.
Yeah, but I mean, what are you playing, in your life right now?
Oh, all right. Well, it's COD, innit?
So by COD, you mean Call of Duty, the popular franchise from Activision?
Yeah. Isn't that the only game on PlayStation, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I believe there are other games, but obviously this is something that means something to you. I mean, what is it about COD in particular that draws you in, that makes you passionate about gaming?
Well, I just like how every single one of them is completely different from the last one, to be quite honest. I mean, right now we've got Call of Duty World War II. Boots on the ground, just like it ought to be. And, I've been fucking people up with my machine guns.
It's interesting you say fucking people up there. By that, do you mean what you're doing is you're expressing your means through violence as a way to demonstrate against violence?
Something like that, yeah. No, I just think that, I like to get on there, get straight onto the multiplayer, don't bother with that campaign rubbish, and go straight in and start capping some fools' asses.
So, it's interesting. So, perhaps tell me a bit more about your gaming history. What were the last 3 games that you bought, and why?
I had COD Advanced Warfare, and, well, my mate said that Infinite Warfare was not worth touching, so I decided to go with Battlefield 1 that year.
When Battlefield 1, that's an interesting change of pace from your previous games.
I felt dirty and I bought it, to be quite honest with you, but it turned out to be an alright game.
And what did you do in that game?
I fucked people up.
Okay, right. What was the other game you bought? We've got 2 on the list now. That's Battlefield
and Call of Duty Advanced Warfare.
Advanced Warfare, okay. Interesting. What do you do to relax whilst playing your games?
I can't really tell you that. It's a bit personal. I don't think your listeners would like that.
Okay, well, perhaps when I say personal, what it means to you playing is when you're relaxing, I mean, what's going through your minds while you play these games?
Well, it's essentially it's a very kind of reactive to the situation. I mean, I feel that all this time I've spent in these COD games has made me the perfect military candidate. So it makes me think about want to kind of sign up for the Marines or something like that. And I think if I have enough energy drink, I might be able to really excel in that role.
So you mentioned energy drinks there, which is a common drink for gamers.
Monster!
And Monster being a very popular brand right now. What is it about Monster that improves your gameplay?
That makes me feel fucked up. So when I'm fucking people up, it gives me that really fucked up feeling, which I like.
And have you considered trying to join the Marines? Have you actually been in and tried to sign up with the Marines?
Yeah. I had too much Monster that day. They didn't like it.
Okay, enough said there. Okay, and perhaps tell me what's your favourite gaming moment. What do you think, in all the times you've been playing game, was the pinnacle of your gaming achievements?
I think it was when I shot my mate Derek through the back of the head.
And how did Derek feel about that?
He called me a twat.
And there you have it. Cody Prestige talking there about what gaming means to him.
Can I shoot now, mate, please?
Sorry?
I need to get going. Ross Kemp fucks people up in Afghanistan is on TV again.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Cody, for your time and for giving such illumination into the life of a Call of Duty player.
You said me give me like a 4-pack of Monster, right?
Yeah, it's in the fridge. Yeah, just close it when you leave, please. Thanks very much. Okay, thank you. Okay, and it's time for the backlog blue balls.
Oh, so blue.
They are so blue. It's where we talk about not just what we're playing, but importantly, what we're not playing. The big, sad, sorry sack of games that we've got on our backlog that for many reasons just getting fuller and fuller. And I think that is the gamer's shame, really, isn't it? The backlog. Particularly as to chaps who have jobs, family, in some cases chemical dependency. We don't get as much time to play as we'd like to. But we still keep buying games because they seem to go cheap every so often and we feel like we're getting a good deal.
Can't pass up a good Xbox sale.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit. So Dante, what are you playing right now?
At this very moment, I am playing Assassin's Creed Origins, and I'd say that this is the Assassin's Creed game that I've persevered with more than any other Assassin's Creed game. It's been a lot of fun.
I mean, how much time have you put into it? Because I mean, I think you've got it quite a while. Had it quite a while now.
Yeah, no, I think I got it in January. I'm still playing it now in April. So yeah, I've done pretty well with that. I haven't counted how many hours I've got. I mean, games like The Witcher 3 were always quite handy because they would tell me exactly how many hours I'd spent on that's not a wasted time on Witcher 3. Witcher 3 is an amazing game that I absolutely love. But yeah, there's no hour counter on Assassin's Creed Origins that I can tell. But I know I've put some decent time into it.
And I mean, if I understand, there's quite a lot of content in Assassin's Creed Origins that came with the base game, let alone the DLC and all that kind of thing. What is it that you feel have got right in this game? It's kept you playing and pushing other things into the sack of blue balls.
I think it's the exploration. I think the combat has been changed sufficiently. What I really like about it is the I guess the freedom to approach any task in any different way. I think previous Assassin's Creed games would have said you have to do it stealthy. If you end up having to carve people up, then you've basically failed. Go back and try again. Whereas with Origins, I can get halfway through a mission having been stealthy. Maybe I'll get spotted and I'll be fair enough. Let's just roll with the punches. And I think it works really well that way. The forts and the sort of bases and locations are a lot of fun to kind of clear people out of. Just kind of work your way through and find all the bits of hidden treasure and loot. I know there is a loot box system in it, but it's not intrusive. I've not really noticed it. So yeah, it's.
We played a very early build. Well, we turned out to be an early build at EGX.
Yeah.
It was a bit janky at the time and a bit, it was all right, I thought.
I am a weirdo person who cannot play games unless his Y stick is inverted.
You are what's known in psychological terms as an invertee.
Inverter, yeah.
Inverter, invertee. There's lots of names for people like yourself. Some of them aren't kind.
No.
There's invert. There's inverted tard.
Mostly I get called bell end when people swap controllers with me.
Yes, that was... Yeah, sorry about that. It was very difficult. I crashed my ship after that. Thanks very much. Okay, so Assassin's Creed Origins been doing well as well. I think you know Ubisoft have done a decent job by the sounds of it. It's got me thinking about an Assassin's Creed game, and I've only really played Assassin's Creed 2 and a bit of Assassin's Creed on the Vita. That's pretty much my exposure, and I enjoy Assassin's Creed 2. But nothing about it's really graphic. But even this one's thinking, well, this world looks pretty beautiful. Yeah. It looks pretty huge.
The graphics are amazing, absolutely amazing. And yeah, no, there's a lot to recommend. I mean, I was coming down from Witcher 3, which I spent about 18 months playing. Before that, I think maybe I played Watch Dogs 2 in between that and this one. But yeah, I think it has that very witchery feel to it. Riding around on your horse, investigating question marks, and then doing kind of like a pretty decent set of story missions. And it doesn't quite have the same level of storytelling as Witcher 3, but it's got a decent core narrative that's keeping me interested.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so Rudy, what is on your gaming list at the moment?
Well, as you know, Dante, I am a console whore. Totally. I tend to cheat on most of my games with another game at the same time. I'm a bit of a handheld fan as well, so I've always got something on the go. So right now I've got 2 games I'm playing. I'm working my way through Doom on the Switch.
Nice.
Which is an interesting experience. I'll come on to that in a second. But I'm also cheating on the Switch with my good old PlayStation Vita, which isn't dead. I don't care what any of the haters say. And I'm actually playing through the port of God of War 2. I just finished God of War 1. I'm on God of War 2 now.
Nice.
In prep for the forthcoming and probably either close release or release by the time this goes out. New God of War on PlayStation 4. I'd played God of War a bit on PlayStation 2, I think back in the day. I think you might have lent it to me. I don't know. I can't remember.
Wasn't me, no,
someone lent it to me. Can't remember much about it other than there were some boobies in it, and that was a good thing.
There were boobies?
There's a sex minigame in it. Anyway, I'll send you the pictures.
Thank you.
A screen grab something. Anyway, so I've been playing through that, and I'm enjoying it. It's a good port of a PlayStation 2 game. It's feeling its age a bit in terms of the camera work. The second game is in marked improvement for the next game. So, yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's kind of just to get me into the mood for the new God of War game, so I've got a bit of perspective. I don't think the story matters that much because I think it's pretty much a reboot or a soft reboot in a way with a character. But it's quite cool just to have a bit more perspective on it. So that's it. And then I've got Doom on the Switch, which I started off loving. I love the portability on the Switch, but also just enjoying the game. But I felt it's outstayed its welcome a little bit. I feel a little bit that it's getting repetitive. And it might be because I've not been playing it consistently in one go. I've been doing other things, and hopping on other things like that. But I'm probably 2/3, maybe in the last quarter of the game now. Okay. I'm back in hell. It's good. I'm enjoying it. But I do feel it's very much narrowly survive. Loads of big enemies, load up weapons, load up ammo, do it again. And it's the feeling, the weapons and the gunplay and the gory kills are great. It feels great to be down on your health and then just like blast someone up close, knock them down, and then like rip the nads off and stuff it in their face, and then just like,
just like real life.
Choke on it. Yeah, very much like last Friday night actually went out on the town. So yeah, I'm enjoying it, but I'm getting a little bored. I'm kind of looking forward to end in a way. Like I wanted to finish it. I will finish it, but I don't know.
I felt kind of the same way. I think when we get onto the backlog section, I possibly should mention Doom because I only got maybe 3 levels in before I started to have that it's getting slightly repetitive feeling after really loving the first level and a half maybe.
Yeah, and I didn't really feel it change. And I think it's a bit of a shame they didn't change it up a little bit. I don't know what they would have done, but the core mechanic is satisfying, but it is purely what there is, which is nut people up, fuck them up, go to the next room.
There was a guy Cody in here. I think he'd really like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's made for people who want to fuck people up, and this is proper up fuckery. As I think is the Latin term. But it's good. But and I tell you what, playing on the Switch as well. I know purists of graphics and stuff like that. It runs really, really well. Graphically, it's smooth. It just doesn't have the depth and the kind of detail and the resolution you'd get. It runs quite well on handheld. It runs fine on the TV as well. I preferred using a TV with a decent controller because I got cramp as well because it's so fast paced. And I was worried I was going to break my Joy-Cons with it as well. So it's a good game.
Have you thought about Skyrim for the Switch at all?
Well, that has entered my blueballs backlog. But before I get to that, there's another one I want to talk about. But let's go into your blue ball stack.
Oh man,
what aren't you playing? Because Assassin's Creed has you hooked. You've been playing it for a while now, which means something is getting nudged to one side.
I mean, I've got games waiting, and I've got games that I've kind of gotten, say, halfway through and not got into. Now, let's start the list here. The first one springing to my mind is Prey, which I've really gone off the boil with. I was a little on the fence to start with. I mean, they released that first hour, and I was, it's okay. Someone was selling it cheap on Gumtree or something like that, so I decided to pick it up. And I got into it. I like the story. I like the alternative history about how Russia and America work together as opposed to kind of against each other, and the nice environment. I guess I just felt it was BioShock light. I think BioShock did it better, but it was still quite good. It still kept me entertained. I would like to go back to it and see if they've got the main protagonist, because I think I played as a girl, not a guy. Makes it off the station. That would be quite good. Wolfenstein 2, which I'm really liking. I'm just not liking it as much as Assassin's Creed Origins, and I think we've discussed this before. It's a fucking hard game.
It is. I mean, I absolutely loved the New Order, and I really like the DLC Old Blood as well, which if I haven't played that, play those games, they're great.
Yeah.
But the thing you could say about it is it gave you a bit of... I found the problem with New Colossus, which, again, I found the story was better and the characterizations were better than the original game. I really liked the way they took the story. I thought the idea of going to America was cool. What I didn't like about it was, as you said, it's really difficult, and not in a fun way, not like they up the ante. I found the first game... difficult missions, you could choose the way you approached it. You could stealth it if you wanted to. You could go in guns blazing. And in this, I could not, even at lower difficult, I could not stealth it. I just got detected every time, which meant it was guns. It was basically then became an attrition. I didn't really have any gameplay freedom. And I got absolutely sorted in some levels. And I've actually I've done the first two games. I've got all the trophies on PlayStation. I've got platinums on both that and the DLC.
Nice.
Played it through hard difficulty, which I very rarely do because I suck at games, but I enjoyed it enough that there was enough options. You could, a pure peasant like me, and I'm sure people have finished it and got a high levels and easy, but it wasn't as easy, and therefore it was fun, I don't think.
Yeah, I think it probably upped its difficulty curve a bit too much. I think I agree about the New Order. When I played that for the first time, I'd just come off of Dishonored 1, so I was very much in a kind of a stealthy mindset. I'm usually rubbish at stealth, but Dishonored just seemed to be one of those games that I really got into and enjoyed doing things stealthily. What else? I'm waiting to play Mass Effect Andromeda, which I first thought I would get on release day because I'm such a big Mass Effect fan, but all the negative press, all the screenshots, all the my face is tired controversies that they had with there has made me put it off. But it was £8 on the Xbox sale. I thought that's probably a reasonable amount of money to spend on a game that most people have told me is maybe not that great.
It's an interesting case as Mass Effect Andromeda, and I'm one of my shameful gaming things is I never played a Mass Effect game, despite you recommending it repeatedly, and I normally follow most of your recommendations. Some of my favourite games are Dante recommendations. I should have listened to you on those ones and got onto it earlier, but now the idea of going back and playing 3 games is even more blue balls the backlog to me. But yeah, it's an interesting one, which I felt that Andromeda wasn't necessarily a bad game. It just wasn't a great game. It was a bit grindy. That's what I've heard from people, and that's what I've seen. And obviously the animation, didn't help. And it's a real shame it's happened to the franchise because
putting BioWare at a serious risk at a bit like the what was the name of that bowling company?
Oh yeah, Pinheads as well. So I mean, the Pinhead game producers,
Deadly Venom or something.
Now Deadly Venom, yeah, I think. Which is a shame. Okay, so you've got quite blue balls then.
I have some seriously blue balls. This isn't even half of what I could talk about in my backlog at the moment. I was having a play again through Red Dead Redemption 1 because there's all this hype about the new one coming out. It's coming out on my birthday, which is going to be a fantastic birthday present, although I would have liked it 6 months earlier like they promised us, but still. It still looks so great. I'm quite near the end now, so I mean every now and then I'll say, I want to kind of put one of these very high tension games aside and just sit on a horse and ride across the Old West, so I pick it up every now and then. But it still looks fantastic. Just those kind of those environments, or that kind of western when the sun sets. It looks like it could have been made a lot more recently
it
than it
was.
actually
Look
was.
at, and it was one of the first open world games, properly large scale. I played everything. I think I did every side quest, every encounter I did. I would always stop if there was an encounter going on, and I played through the whole story. And it took me months and months and months to play it all, I think. And that was at a time when I played a lot. Well, I had the ability to play a lot more. It's pre-children. Absolutely, loved the game. That was a really great game.
Xbox One X users, we'd love to hear from you in the comments, because apparently Red Dead Redemption has had a Xbox One X enhancement update, and I would like to hear about how good that is. Please give us some info.
Okay, well, there's a request there. So to send into the comments if you're a One X owner.
Yeah, I'm way too cheap to buy anything like that.
We really can't afford that.
They brought it out like maybe a month after I bought an Xbox One S, which
They announced it a long time before.
They
but
did.
Then no price details, promise of something amazing in the future.
Yeah, I was able to buy that Xbox One S by selling my Xbox One standard and selling my body in a few cases, but I got rid of my Kinect, which again I think was probably the right thing to do, but some people keep telling me I maybe shouldn't have done that.
Did you use it?
Occasionally,
Sorry, to be clear, did you use it for gaming and not for dick pics? No. Okay. Fine. And on my side, my gaming blue balls. Oh my goodness, I have the most immense blue balls.
I have often said this about you.
In more ways than one, but right now, the big guilty admission is I have The Witcher 3, and I started it. I got probably 10 or so hours into it.
Find something to throw at you, Rudy.
Yeah, and it's a good game. I'm not, for anyone, don't send me death threats or anything. It's a really good game. I totally see the praise it gets. But I started off a bit cocky at the start of the year. I was like, in January, I was like, you know what? I think I just, I talked about in a blog post, you got a website about Bloodborne. I completed that early in the year, and I was a bit in mind. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty hard. I'm gonna do this on really intense. I'm gonna do the hardest difficulty level because it said, people saying like, if you want the real experience, you totally got to play Witcher 3 on the hardest difficulty, which is how it's meant to be played, which is bollocks because the way it's meant to be played is, in my mind, always normal difficulty setting.
Yeah.
A developer builds it. Normal is the way it's intended to be played. Easy is if you just like the story. If you want the story, wants to go through it. And hard or extreme difficulties if you a bit of a sadist, in my opinion. But I was like, I can do this. What it meant though was that it takes a game which is huge and makes it even longer, because you can't enjoy the story, because you have to make sure you're keeping an eye on your health. You've got to make sure that you're collecting items. You've got to do every side thing to level up, because you've got no chance otherwise. And I'm not a great player, as I said earlier, so it bogged me down a little bit when what I really should have been doing was enjoying the story, enjoying the world a bit more. And I got a bit like, oh, this is so huge. I'm going to play this in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months.
It really sucked me in. I mean, like I said, I think it took me about 18 months to complete that. Granted, I had 2 children in between that time. But
some during, I think you played through the birth of both of them, didn't you?
I had my priorities in the right place.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that your other half understood that as well. That
I think so.
Sometimes Geralt comes first. Well, he never comes first as Geralt, does he?
She seemed to like watching the sex scenes with Geralt. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Did you make it to the brothels yet?
No. Cha-ching, back off the blue balls list. It's straight in there. There's brothels. No one told me this. I saw a bit of boob. I was like, this is pretty good. But you didn't tell me that there was brothels in it.
There is some sexy content, my friend.
And the other thing put me off a little bit was the Gwent card game. I don't know if I needed to play that.
Fucking love Gwent.
It seemed that I don't like fake games within games, and this is not anything to do with the game itself. It's purely to be me being an idiot. I have trouble learning one game mechanics. So learn a game within a game is too like Inception for me. Ultimately confusing, but I pretend to know what happened. So that's cool. So that's the main one I've got on my Blue Balls list. But I'm going to be adding to it by getting a new God of War game.
Yeah.
I've got a VR backlog that's on there as well. I have also picked up Skyrim for the Switch, which I'm hoping I'll get through, because I managed to plug away 100 hours in Zelda last year without really realising it, because you can play it portable on the go, or when your wife's talking to you, or when you're on the toilet, or even during the act of love, you can knock out 1 to 2 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah. Can you do it while your kids are screaming at you and want to use your Nintendo Switch?
Well, no, you can't do that. What you have to do is make sure they're in some kind of soundproof box. I recommend air holes. to be clear. Safety first.
We're not monsters.
Yeah. So I think that's our Blue Balls. Hopefully in the next session we'll tell you again what we're playing. Hopefully it'll be something different. Maybe it won't be though, and we'll talk about why it isn't. And we'll also get on to what other games we've accumulated in our backlog as well, and pick out some Blue Balls highlights.
Yeah, I feel the need to get away from swords and sandals for a while. I mean, The Witcher and Assassin's Creed is a little bit too sort of low tech, so I'm thinking Mass Effect is probably my next port of call. Okay, folks, we have a bit of a treat for you today. We have a game developer that needs pretty much no introduction. We have the world-renowned game developer Peter Molyess, who is here to answer some questions. Hi, Peter.
Oh, hello. Thank you very much for having me on your podcast there, Dante. It's great to be here, to be honest.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you, and being a long-time fan of Dragon's Hacky Sack 1, 2, and 3, I'm absolutely in awe of your presence. So it's really nice to have you here.
No, I absolutely love to support content creators like yourselves, to be honest. And I'm glad you like the Hacky Sack games for they were big sellers, and I'm very proud of them.
Yeah, it was basically all I played on my Commodore 64 when I first started out gaming. For those of you that are less familiar with Peter's work, started making games on the Commodore 64 in the late 80s. And, the ones that we've mentioned, the Dragon's Hacky Sack 1, 2, and 3, the trilogy, really. When I talk about the trilogy, there are 3 of them now. It was the Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and Dragon's Hacky Sack, to be honest. Noodle Dumpling was really where it started for you, wasn't it? Tell us a bit about Noodle Dumpling.
Yeah, so really what had happened is I started on the Commodore 64, which is obviously where I did my Hacky Sack games. But what I found was I moved to PC to do another game. Well, the problem with the Commodore 64 is I had no one, and it only had 7 keys. So it limited what I could code, to be honest. So what I did was move on to PC on an old 86. So I had the idea of Noodle Dumpling, where the player plays a deity making Chinese food in a celestial kitchen, because I thought that spoke to me as someone that ate quite a lot of Chinese food.
I think that spoke to a lot of us that ate a vast amount of Chinese food at the time. Right. So having been around for so long, Mr. Molyess, give us an idea of how you manage to keep relevant in an ever-changing marketplace. What do you do that makes your games, kind of still stand out and still, achieve where other developers may have fallen by the wayside?
I think it's quite obvious what you need to do, to be honest, in this kind of industry, and that is promote, and then probably also promote, because if you don't promote your games to the maximum possible degree, who's going to care? I mean, there's 450,000 games coming out on Steam per hour now. Who's going to go and play Fondle, my sci-fi game now, with so many games? So I feel that coming on to things like this, talking about what I'm working on and getting that interest up is the most important part of the game. Some might say it's gameplay, but I say that's bollocks.
Well, you've come under fire quite a bit for some of the content that we found in Fondle. Why are people having a problem with that one?
Some people felt, and I say some people because, there were quite a lot of people, but those people were wrong, but they felt that I maybe have misled them on some of the features of the game, which I can categorically say on the record is not true. They said that in Fondle, you could fly across the universe on an elephant, and it turned out that in fact you couldn't even fly at all. But what I meant to say is you could feel like you were flying across space and the universe on an elephant, when in fact you were just sat in a field. But that was the trippy nature of Fondle. That's what it did. It played with your mind. I don't think I really lied to anyone. I think I just said your imagination can let you go there. For all I know, you might have been, going across a river on the back of a hippo. You can't in the game, but you can in your mind.
That's a very good point. I think that's worth remembering, that when we're talking about these type of experiences, it's down to how the user or the player interprets it as much as what's actually in the game. Thank you very much. Now, what do you think has been your most successful project to date? What do you think stands out, and do you have a favourite of your own? So, obviously, commercial success and something that you've really enjoyed making.
Well, I think that most people would say, well, yeah, you know, Dragon Tacky Sack 1, 2 or 3, Noodle Dumpling. The early stuff, you know, was their favourite because they felt that those were in fact games that had a beginning, middle and an end. But I'll turn back and say, no, you know, for me, that might have been the beginning, but it's not the end. So the favourite, most successful project is one I haven't even started yet. Because that will be amazing. Because one day, the next game, the next project will be the best thing that anyone has ever played in their entire lives. In fact, probably not just their lives, but their kids' lives as well. They'll probably have kids and those kids will die. And when they're dead, they'll be thinking, oh, you know, it's on their deathbed, they'll be thinking, oh, that my dad's game was the best game ever made.
Yeah, no, that's entirely possible. Now, let's think about some other games that we've seen in the public eye at the moment. What has really impressed you? I mean, do you get a lot of time for playing other people's games?
Well, you know, I'll be honest, I am a creator. I make things out of nothing, which takes a lot of energy, and therefore I don't play as much as I'd like to. In fact, I don't play at all, because I don't have time to play because I'm creating things. I get up 10:30 in the morning, I have my breakfast, I have a long shower, watch a bit of Jerry Kyle, or my favourite, which is Bargain Hunt, and then I start working on creating, and I do that till 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and I can't, you know, fitting gaming in is difficult. So the other thing, I don't want to cross-contaminate my ideas with other people's, otherwise everything I made would be the same as other people's, and that's what people come to a Peter Molyess game for.
Something a bit different.
Absolutely. They know what they're going to get, which is probably not what I've said it's going to be, because that's not what I do.
Pure unfiltered Molyess.
Exactly. It's the brand you can trust.
Now, it has been rumoured, and this may or may not be true, I mean, we're not sure on our source on this one, that you're going to be taking over the development of any future updates to the No Man's Sky, a much maligned project from, was it Hello Games?
Well, I mean, thank you, Dante. I mean, to be honest, I can't really talk about it, so I'm going to talk about it. Now, what I would say is that No Man's Sky has had a perception problem, I think, which is that people feel that things they wanted from the game weren't really there. So what I believe the best thing to do now is to promise that everything anyone ever wanted in the game will in fact be in the game. And not only that, but I'll probably release it in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
That's a pretty ambitious move.
Yeah. So if you said to me, Peter, what I really liked about No Man's Sky was the spaceships, but what I actually wanted, not just spaceships, but I wanted submarines. They'll be in there. You can have a submarine. Go wild on the sea if you want to.
So you can fly to a planet, find a submarine, go kind of under the water on that planet, and then come back to your spaceship, fly to another planet and get another submarine and go underwater in that one.
Yeah, you could even tow the submarine behind your spaceship, so you could bring the submarine from the first world across there. You can do that. 3 weeks, boom, it's going to come out. You know, what else you got? What else you wanted in there?
I think I would like some flying unicorns.
Throw a couple in, they'll be there. It's procedurally generated unicorns. We can do that. We've got a great team. You know, they'll be there in your imagination, and that's what's important.
I think that's going to be a winning formula to all of them. How do you feel about microtransactions and loot boxes? Are there any in your games coming up, what's your philosophy on those?
I believe it depends how you define a microtransaction or a loot box. Loot boxes to me aren't a good idea because you don't know what you're going to get. Yeah. So rather than having a loot box where you might get something good, you have a box where you might not get anything at all. And that still costs money, but it's your choice, and you know it's not going to affect gameplay because it's not going to have anything in it. So it's not going to stop the game from getting worse, is it? And I mean, microtransactions. You know, I think the term microtransactions, it's like chipping away at something bigger. My microtransactions, they're actually quite large transactions. They are, in fact, more expensive than the game. And if you don't pay for them, they are game-breaking.
No. So the Destiny 2 model, then?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, those guys, you know, won't admit it, but they stole my idea. In fact, I'm coming after you, Activision Blizzard. I'm coming after all of you because I come up with the idea of making stuff broken that you've got to buy your way out of. You know, one of my games, Fondle, as you recall, yeah, to be able to get past the first level, right, you need a special item. You can only buy that for 70 quid. But when you've bought it, you've got a sense of achievement, because it's actually quite a long process to go through the credit card entering on the screen on a console. So,
remembering all those digits is tough.
exactly, it's a sense of achievement. That's what I give players.
I think pride and accomplishment is how I'd feel after I purchased that part in Fondle.
Exactly. People say they remember that the most. I mean, not necessarily fondly, but it's what they remember the most.
Fondly. All right. Final question. Again, a rumour about one of the games coming up. Will I be able to use VR tech created by your laboratories to shrink myself, enter my own body through one of the various orifices that my body has, and cure myself of any and all diseases that I find, all from the comfort of my own armchair?
That's an interesting one, and I see myself as a visionary. VR tech is, well, it's on the forefront really of gaming, and hard to say what the future's going to be. So therefore, I'm going to say yes, you can, and I probably would say it's about a year away, maybe 2, if you want to be really small.
That's amazing. So, Inner Space, the game, coming to us in about a year. Fantastic.
Yeah, maybe 6 months.
Oh,
Yeah, make it free.
right.
Make it free. I'll do it in 3 months. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. Yeah.
Oh, Peter, I can tell that you must be the busiest man in all of gaming, so I think that's probably time to call a halt to our interview so you can get back to achieving some of these fantastic deadlines that you're going to give us.
Absolutely. I mean, and Cash in the Attic's on in 20 minutes, so, got to get in there for that, haven't I? So, thank you very much for having me, and, hope to come on again.
Yeah, no, we'd love to have you on again. Thank you for supporting a fledgling YouTube channel in the way you've done. Peter Molyess, everyone.
Well, thanks for that interview, and we are now back to finish off this podcast with what we hope will be a regular feature of listener questions. You might wonder, how do we have questions? It's your first podcast. Well, we made some crap up because at the end of the day, we haven't got any listeners. But please do, in future, drop us a line on our Twitter feed, which we'll give details at the end, on Facebook or on the website comments, and we will respond to that and hopefully ask those questions. We ask that you keep it moderately clean and not too cruel, because we are very sensitive individuals who cry.
Absolutely. And if you listen to the rest of our podcast, it's all made up bullshit anyway. So these questions being completely made up shouldn't come as a big surprise.
No, to be honest, this is pretty much what we're doing for the last 50 odd minutes or so. So, you've done well to get so far. So let's start off with first question here. It says, why are you wasting your time? You won't amount to anything. And that's actually from my mum.
My mum helped write that one.
Yeah, it doesn't mention you there for a start.
Your mum mentions me quite a bit. But
well, that's that wouldn't take that offline, I think. But yeah, I mean, answer that question. Thanks, Mum. That's true. Yes, admittedly, I haven't managed much. I would think a bit of that's to do with your parenting, but we'll just leave it there, shall we? It's going to get unpleasant if we don't.
We'll get back to being boring corporate drones during the daytime any second now, and start bringing in money for DIY and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Next question. Can you pick some milk up? That's from my wife. Yeah, I can. I'll get a couple of pints of full fat because that's what the girls like. So yes, the answer there. Dante, from you?
I have one coming. It's from the internet, and it says, I'm fairly sure you've ripped up every... Ripped up? Let's try that again. I'm fairly sure you've ripped off every single gaming podcast and YouTube video ever. Go away with your complete lack of originality and don't come back again. Signed, everyone on the internet.
Well, I think that's about time to wrap things up for the first podcast. Thank you very much for listening. We've been Dante.
And you've been Rudy.
So we're going to sign off now. Just as a reminder, our website, Jambags, say that again. Reminder, our website is jambags.co.uk. Please visit there for articles and blog posts, and also links to our podcasts and where you can get them.
Follow us on Twitter,
which is jambags_UK. And also on Facebook, where you can find it for Jambags as well, and leave us a message there. Like us if you can. listen to us and drop reviews on any way you listen to this podcast. We're going to be pushing out to different platforms. We're not quite sure as of time of recording which platforms it's going to go on. But, if you're listening to it, then you found it. So well done, you deserve a treat.
If we happen to end up on YouTube, like and subscribe us, please.
Absolutely. If we don't, we don't make any money out of this. But I mean, now you have to have 10,000 subscribers to make any money out of this. And so far, only my mum and your mum have said they'll listen to it.
Yeah, they haven't said they'd subscribe or pay us any money for it.
No, that's true. Actually, they didn't say anything. They said they'd listen, but I don't think they will.
No, and I think they're worried in particular about me, because the whole recent YouTube shooting thing going on, that we might not take rejection well.
Yeah, so please don't leave any nasty comments. We
very fragile individuals.
This is really going to hurt our egos, and we don't know what we're capable of. Okay, so sign it off now, and thank you very much. This has been Jambags.
Really?
Yeah, how do you think that went? I mean, we talked quite a bit. There was some silly stuff. My voice hurts a bit.
I kind of blacked out about halfway through. Being Cody was kind of a method acting experience to me, so I'm very high on Monster Energy drink right now.
You went into yourself there a little bit. I felt you went meta as well. Mm-hmm. I don't really know. I didn't recognise you when you did your voice.
I have no idea who Derek is, but he's definitely a twat.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, I mean, do you think we fucked up?
Yes.
Okay, do you think anyone's going to listen to this?
No.
Why are we whispering?
I have no idea. Is your mum asleep?
No, she's sat next to you.
Shit.
She was trying to watch EastEnders.
We should maybe keep it down then.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, Mum.